All right, I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Town Technology Task Force. Our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, which I have my trusty flag. So I'll ask that you all prepare for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America,
and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Thank you very much. One of my favorite parts of our meetings. I have not seen our meeting minutes. I don't know where they are. So I think we're going to have to postpone that part of our agenda to our next meeting, and we'll review June's minutes and this meeting's minutes.
But I'm not the only one that didn't find them.
No, they are MIA, but we will find them and get them out to you guys for our next meeting, and I apologize for that. Let's move on to the shared services study. In the Google Drive, hopefully you've all had the chance to look at Bill's awesome summary of what we did receive in data, and he's also got some awesome next steps in it. Did anybody not have the time to look at Bill's summary?
I looked at the email that came today with the summary.
Oh yeah, that's right. I attached it in the email too.
Yeah,
I have not seen
found that. Couldn't find the minutes. Found that. Sorry, Ray, you said.
I have not seen it.
Okay, it was attached in my email originally sent out 5 days ago. Bill, would you mind just kind of boiling it down real quick? Just so we're all on the same page?
Yeah, I'll try to do that. And I won't go through each of the questions and the responses.
Fair.
But, I thought we had sent out roughly 15 or so. That was our intent. And we got roughly 9 back. And with that, some pretty good detail. Lots of opportunity for us to ask questions, because we'd like to know more, obviously. But I don't know if it was you or Rick who put a spreadsheet out on the drive that had the towns that responded, and
I dropped that in there today. Melissa had sent that midweek, and I noticed that and recognized that it didn't go out to the entire group. So I dropped that in the box today.
Great. Yeah, I thought that was really helpful. If nothing else, it gives us kind of a status on where things are.
Right.
So that was great.
Right. And so of the 14 towns that we had selected for our first round of the survey, the only one that we never were able to contact was Vernon. Everybody else was contacted, and Melissa put together a really nice summary of, or has a working spreadsheet of the status of everything, and she shared that with us on Tuesday or Wednesday, if I remember correctly. So that is also in the Google Drive, and it does eloquently state who did what and when, and where some next action points are as far as an org chart and any written agreements that exist and whether or not they're available to us.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a nice tool for us to pivot off of.
Yeah. So I thought, with the virus and everything else hitting at the same time as we were trying to collect this information, I thought we had a pretty good hit ratio. Only to have one town after some follow-up. I know Rick and Melissa probably followed up on some of them that may not have come in initially, because I think we were at 9 and now we seem to be up to around 14 or 13. So that's great. And with that, we can see if we want to dig in any further with them to better understand what they submitted to us, and to see if there's any towns we want to look to get more information from. So, I don't know if it's worthwhile going to Vernon. I had a brief discussion with Rick as to whether or not it was worthwhile going to Vernon, or if they were just different from us. But, we've got a good selection to go from. I think the next step is really to contact the towns and understand what their responses really meant.
And that's fair. And then also start trying to collect the org charts and any agreements that they're willing to share with us, that they agreed to share with us within the survey.
Right.
Does anybody have any availability to help with the next phase of this project?
I'm willing to help.
Bill, Liz, awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I've got some time, Mike. This is Paul.
Paul, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Bill, would you mind leading the charge again?
No, not a problem.
That's outstanding. Yeah, and as far as the action items that you had in there, it was to reach out to the towns and just kind of button that up.
Right.
And then start the outline of what we received.
Yeah, and with the spreadsheet that got placed out there, my only question is, do we have the responses from those towns integrated into the questionnaire summary? Because it was really that questionnaire summary that you caused to get put together. I don't know how automatic that was from the questionnaires that were received, but if we've got all the responses built into that, then that would be great.
Yeah, they're all boiled into a Google sheet, which is basically an Excel spreadsheet.
Right. So the last one that I saw was dated the 25th of March. So if there's a new one that has these additional towns' responses in there.
Well, and you know, unfortunately, what I see from the spreadsheet that Melissa shared, there were 9 responses in total.
Okay.
Of the 14 that we had as on our target list. So I don't think that there are any more.
Okay.
Any more new data. The last one was completed March 15th. It's amazing that we're still talking about March.
Yeah.
Sadly, but we live in odd times.
So these would be opportunities then to go back to towns that maybe didn't respond, even though we sent them the questionnaire.
Yeah, that's fair. We would be asking, basically Rick and Jason at this point if they had availability to be able to help us to go back out, or do we, Rick, Jason, do we? I'm happy to help reach out to towns. I realize, Jason, you're probably in the middle of trying to ramp up for this fall, and Rick, I know you have a heavy storage project coming your way, a hyperconverged storage project coming your way. So I'm happy to help, and I'm sure we can find some others that can do that. The communications piece with those towns that didn't respond, like Bloomfield and Farmington and Glastonbury and Plainville and Suffield. Oh no, I'm sorry, Suffield did respond.
Mike, I have a question on that. Do we feel that we're going to get more value from continuing to reach out to people that didn't answer, or should we really focus on the ones that did to move forward? I mean,
that's a really good question, Wendy. And I think what I would do is I'd take the subset of the data that we have and carve that out and start working on it. But then I think I'd like to, just kind of hedging my bet, which is, there's probably some more awesome information that's out there that we could really benefit from, especially from some of these towns, who.
Yeah. So like a dual track. So you're not stopping, you're not waiting for that. You're going to go this way and that way. So exactly. I get that. Because
we have, we've been talking, and we've had some really cool moments of action in this, but it's, we've all been on the sideline through most of this. So now it's, I don't want to lose any more time than we already have.
Got it. Thanks.
Great.
So back to Jason and Rick, as far as, do you guys have some time? Would you guys be able to help us potentially reach out to Bloomfield and Farmington and Glastonbury and South Windsor, and potentially maybe even at least point us in a direction for Vernon if we still feel like that is a town we want to try and get to
Well,
participate?
we're looking at just the ones that are in yellow, right? I brought the chart up right now. So on Bill's discussion that I had with Bill, let's see, that was last month. So I took, in the ones that are out there is pretty much myself and Melissa. So I took all those yellows and did reach out to them. Unfortunately, I did not get a response back. So
It's that time of year too, right? I mean,
it's tough for some folks even to respond, I think, at this point. I mean, some of those towns are a little bit in flux as well. But I could, by the end of this week, just reach out one more time. I still have the emails. I'll just reply to them, and we'll go from there. I'll do that.
Again, if I can help in any way with that, I'm happy to drip on folks and be a kind of a thorn in their side until I get a yes or a no.
Okay.
I do that every day.
I'm not sure how much help I'm going to be able to offer on this. I'm fairly flat out. And honestly, I think anyone that we're going to be contacting, we're all right now having that little task of having to re-engineer how schools work from the bottom up. So this is a really tough time right now to try and take
Understood.
It's not opening the schools.
Fair enough, Jason. And the good news is the folks that were on your list all participated. So whatever you did, whatever magic you sprinkled on those emails to get them out, it worked.
Sure.
So the good news there is there's no one on your list. So Rick, if you could send those that round out again, and then I'll follow up with you just to see how we're doing, and we can come up with the next steps if we don't even just get something back saying, yeah, I'll work on this, but I don't have time. So I'll contact you sometime in November or December when I have a moment to breathe or whatever.
Okay.
All right. And so, Bill, do you need any time with the group to think about, how to divide and conquer the workload?
Yeah, maybe what we should do is decide what our focus is then. So we're going to go ahead and make sure of the 13 or 14 that we did send out, that we got responses from everybody that was going to respond. And Rick's going to do that, right, in terms of the few that did not respond. Even to say no, that would have been fine. And maybe that if I were to ask Rick, that's really the question to ask them. If they don't want to participate, just tell us. We'll stop bothering you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So if we've got that, and then the workload then becomes one of looking at the responses we got and determining whether or not it's worthwhile following up with them to determine any nuances to their answers. How we should look at that. And the question is, are we at this point ready to do that? So would you like me to go through it and just indicate areas where getting a more precise understanding would be critical for us? So I'm kind of looking at, so what is the workload? What is it we're trying to achieve here?
Well, some of it is just a simple, going out and getting those org charts, and there were a couple of yeses on written agreements that were available,
right,
from Mansfield and Suffield.
Yep.
So we don't have any contact information, but I don't want to burden Melissa or Jason or Rick with stuff like that. So I think one of the things that I will do for us offline will be to work with Rick to get some contact information for all of these folks so that we can, potentially have Rick do a handoff communication going, hey, this guy's going to be emailing you and it's legit. It's not some hacker trying to find a way into your network to open the door for us. I think that you going through and chewing through the data a little bit or looking at the data and chewing on it and seeing where we need clarification. I think that would be a very useful investment of your time.
Right.
You think you think you need help with that? Do we?
I think what I'd like to do, if it's okay with everybody on the team, is just as I did with this initial summary that I did, I'll go through and indicate the questions that I thought were key and, kind of put out a straw person that we can all take a look at and beat up. And if you give me about a week or so, I'll make sure that I get that out to you.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
And then, we can take it from there as to whether or not you folks agree or if you want to alter it at all. It gives us something to work from.
And then once we start reaching out to those folks, because my gut is there's going to be something for all these towns that have, graciously responded to us, we can then start asking for org charts and agreements and other stuff that they agreed to share with us.
Yeah, it really sounded like from their answers that getting the org chart or the agreement, if they have one, is something that they need the personal touch on because they don't want to release this stuff to just anybody. So it might be even tough if Rick or Melissa said, well, Mike's a good guy, you can release it to him. Nah.
Yeah, and we may have some trouble with that, well, like I said, we'll just keep knocking at the door until we get a yes or a no.
Okay.
Anybody?
Right, yes. So I think putting that straw person together is going to be, fairly straightforward for me, and then we can all beat it up from there.
Awesome, Bill. Thank you very much.
All right.
Does anybody have anything else on the shared services study?
Well, Mike, this is Paul. I kind of went through and looked at the responses, and not going to try to throw cold water on anything, but I didn't see anything that jumped out there that made me feel like, holy macro, we need to be doing shared services, so, or not. So I guess the question is what is it that we're looking for when we go back? Because, are we looking for hard dollar savings? Are we looking to save bodies? Are we looking, I guess I'm really not sure what's going to come out of going back and having a contact other than having some more clarity, but I'm also trying to see what is it going to take to, what are we looking for that would push us in shared services or not? I just kind of didn't, everybody seemed to have a different take on anything, and nothing really hit me as being an aha moment.
Yeah, that's fair. And my hope is that as we dive deeper with these folks, and hopefully we're given the opportunity to dive deeper with them, that we might find that aha moment. And it may not exist too, right? But yeah. I feel like we need to do our due diligence because I agree with you. The picture's as clear as mud right now. But I think that we can find some ways to sift through and come up with a little clearer picture and potentially that aha moment that we're hoping for. But it may not, because every town is different.
Just as a selectman, not knowing, I wasn't here when the mission was assigned, but I'm assuming it was to just make sure, if there's anywhere we can share and save costs, right? If both groups are doing the same thing, I wouldn't look at it as necessarily eliminating resources. I would look at it as using the resources, or having resources that were flexible if needed, right? Like Jason right now with the schools, they're probably flat out. I'm sure Rick is too, but if there's a time when Rick's implementing his new storage system or something and he has expertise on another side, they could share some more like a kind of a corporate model. So I do think there's a benefit. I think the real benefit would be seeing these org and functional charts from the schools or and seeing how they manage because they must do the same things that we do. So
I do have a question. Sorry, I'm the new guy to the group, but so I'm catching up on pieces. I was trying not to hold up too much, but what services are you talking about sharing exactly?
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Wendy. I'm so the town, I think, put a charge to this group, right, to see if we could share resources. We have the Board of Ed has their own IT department, and the town has their own IT department, using different platforms, different hardware, different resources. And we just did the Board of Finance. We now have a Board of Finance director that works on both teams, oversees both. And I think that kind of maybe led to this. I don't know which came first, but just to look at, what we do on both sides and see if there's somewhere that there's some economies of scale that we could share.
I'll just share. So my company's a cooperative. So we work for a bunch of very similar organizations. So we absolutely, by combining those services, gain a lot, because we can, as a cooperative, offer the same capabilities cookie cutter to multiple institutions, and they all consume it in very similar ways. So they end up with cost savings. We can get enterprise level gear. We can offer better performance. They don't have to have the IT overhead. They don't have to have the security knowledge or the process overhead. If you can centralize it and bring either multiple orgs, I'll say, if it's a holding company, so like a town, right, you have multiple divisions. If they all band together and utilize the same IT resource, you can still segment it where they get some control, works out really well. Or if you can even offer it where multiple, I'll say in this case, towns or something like that, where to be able to band together, you can have a lot of cost savings. So I get the idea. That's interesting. Okay.
I feel like answered your own question, Matt.
Sorry.
Oh no, it was awesome. But that's basically the point, right? Is there is, I don't know if there's any overlap, but we do have, a lot of services in the town, and are there opportunities, right? And potentials for efficiencies, or just ways to just use the resources that we have the best way possible. And that's what we're looking at, and trying to figure out what everybody else does around us to see if there's that, to Paul's point, that aha moment that goes, hey, wow, why didn't we think of that, right? And hopefully there is one.
One of the challenges for Simsbury is that I think a lot of sharing does take place, and a lot of intercommunication takes place before any major purchases are made or any new avenues are pursued. So if there are different platforms that are being used within Simsbury, I think one of the reasons for that is somebody along the way, whether it's the current folks in charge or the folks before that, made a determination that there's enough of a difference or a different requirement that we're going to be on different platforms, and there might be an opportunity in the future to get back to the same one. So I'm not trying to defend people at this point, but what I'm trying to say is Simsbury has been sharing. It may be in an unofficial way and without a document in place, but they have been sharing. So there may not be a lot of nuggets to collect at the end of this.
That's fair. That is a very fair point. And thank you for pointing that out, Bill. You are 100% right. We do already, and Jason and Rick spend a lot of time. And there are services that the town does share, which is fantastic.
Right. Okay.
Anything else? All right. I guess just so I'm not sure if everybody heard this, we are going to have a special session tonight to review some proposals. Unfortunately, that information is confidential information, so we're going to have to end this meeting, adjourn this meeting, and then call to order another meeting. So there'll be another link in your email in a moment to join that special session. Hopefully, you all have some time. I tried to make sure that we had an agenda that we could actually work with tonight, so that we had time for the special session, because the storage project is a big deal and we need to keep moving forward on it.
Okay. All right.
So I guess I'd be looking to entertain a motion.
I'll entertain that motion.
All right, Harold made a motion to adjourn. Anybody want to second it?
Second it.
Paul seconded. All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you in a second in the session.